So to kind of roll in both biometrics and directed energy, I'm going to include it in both biometrics and directed energy in the name of fifth generation. So let's just start with general biometrics being used in this way to collect information on people instantly, like they know who you are and where you're going. This is China now today. And they monitor social behavior online as well, so they know where you are and they know what you're thinking. So to talk about biometrics, just to quickly familiarize you with what we're talking about, it's more than fingerprints. As you can see, you're a sentient being, and electronically you can be identified, as can your cell phone. So we have signatures that can be monitored biologically, biochemically, and electronically. So you can see that it applies all the way down to this for access to places, how we get on our cell phones. This is all biometrics. So again, to review, you've got biometrics being used to identify people and to protect infrastructure from access, which can obviously be mimicked down to the DNA level, I suppose, but they're trying to affect that. DNA is the key to us, it's the key to everything. So here's wireless technology. We're back outside our bodies again and how it can affect us. So it's a little bit tied to Moore's law, and here we come. So it's the fifth generation of communications. And you can see the things that it can do. 5G does a lot in terms of optimum potential. But on the negative side, please allow me to let you know that America was using 5G, and the same towers that are being pushed out, you know, there's older imagery of the Arians, arms folded with bigger than a stop sign, tripoded thing ready to point across the street. So it's the same thing. We were using it in Iraq, not so much for self-driving, but self-airplane flying, tactically, pushing it out. In 50 miles, we could drive using 5G airborne. Airplanes made noise, you know, and the Army got smaller hand-tossed things, and communications continued using Wi-Fi and 5G, which is what it is. Your cell phone went from 4G to 5G, and the technology is such that you could have flown a UAV on a 4G cell phone, because the smart communications can get up to 5G and integrate. That's Herb Rubin from Wave Relay. But the big providers who pushed things into Iraq had technology called voice to skull. Iraq and Afghanistan, you know, proliferated. I don't know how much was left behind. I'm sure all of it was. You know, just look at those communications architectures alone were left behind for those guys to figure out, and probably Eric Schmidt's helping them. So what occurs with voice to skull is, if they want to push out a signal into your brain and it's you they want, they can do it. So now I'm back here and I'm over here. If you want to be terrorized by them, this is for Donald Trump, because he wants to start a fight with China. And I've spoken about the fact that they have an artificial sun, and I just wish to come back to that. Well, we talked about the real estate market, and here's the sun. We've spoken about that. So we're referring to the capabilities of this organization that has a military that's bigger than ours. They have really done nothing to drop bombs on us per se. As I recall, we accidentally bombed their embassy many years ago, and they were disturbed by it, but they didn't launch World War anything. So we're a bunch of dumbasses, and they've been very patient. You know, I'll put the positive spin on China if you'd like. They're building the infrastructure for the world, pushing the Oriental Trail, the Silk Trail is sort of being modernized with their funding. And of course they want material and exploitation for them. We need to learn how to share it. I believe that they could be reasonable at the ascended level about what makes sense if we're one big planet, which we happen to be, and that's where we're going. And there will be plenty of Chinese left over to ascend with us. And let's hope that the chairman is one of them and he's in our collective. My goodness, to be a transformative agent like that and let Trump burn out and don't be exacerbated by his bullshit that he's about to bring to the stage. Oh, I forgot I was speaking to you, Donald. He'd like to be called Mr. President, Your Honor. The worship of that man when he was in office was actually funny. People trying to gum it up with him and him taking it right in and then giving him the 1,000-meter stare. Okay, yes, very, very nice. Let me pause this. So guys, I got to put it together for you. I mean, reincarnation means born again. You, the viewer, existed before you were produced and started learning on this lifetime. So as you learn about yourself, you're going to be able to fix a lot of things. This man used to be Julius Caesar. He then came back, rough order period, as an architect and was killed. But in between, he went to the Pleiades, who've given us a lot of good information. They're future versions of us that are in sixth density that we can learn from. That's the best way to put it. Like, the future is there, they've got it, and they're going to bring it to us. But we're not there yet, and we will be when we join up with them. So he went to that environment, quantum, and lived there already, and he was supposed to learn about compassion. So he's got some compassion in him, but it manifested for his family, for Hollywood, and for whatever charities may have received the benefit of television success. There may have been some. He got his golf course in Scotland, and it's been a little bit of a rogue, okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I always saw the best piece of that going, man, he is just doing what he wants, and he seems to be successful, and why does everybody hate him so much? I mean, I had a piece of that going into me. And then when he ran against Hillary, I'm like, okay, now's the time. Thank goodness for that. Because look at what she was doing with George H.W. Bush. See, they got the whole game such that you just have to have an opinion that you can ride on to get you to your next decision. I mean, that's kind of how we lived our elections and the news cycles and everything else. So we're at a point now where we've all woken up. If you hear my voice on this video, you're looking at the destroyer. And on Monday, he's going to begin a process to take us down a road that it'll be tied to some of this insurrection thing. I see a precursor to FEMA activation. There's got to be some national disaster relationship to it. The Insurrection Act and all those things are related to martial law, and there's technicalities that say that began on 6 January. There are military laws that affect status. When they hooked up that chain link fence and all that barbed wire, there are field manuals you can go to under military code that go back. They must transcend America, but it goes to the law of occupation. And if you got the guns and you sit on the ground, you own it. And you report to your commander-in-chief as such. And when he retreated out of Washington, D.C., you're dealing with an illuminated chunk of territory that ties war into the network of the command and control side of Rome, Vatican, and the currency side of England. And Trump assisted a strategic pitch to China, and now he is ready to be the the dumbest man in the history of humanity. He's managed to ascend to that level. So watch him on Monday and wish him some sort of reverse azimuth. I mean, come on, start playing golf. Lefty Trump, do something to ascend. Go vegan. Stop brushing your teeth with fluoride. Somebody tell this guy a few of these things. He may not know them. He may not know them. Who's going to tell him? Who's going to tell Donald Trump anything? You know, even if you try, he might even open his eyes a little bit and, what? He does that, if you interdict him. You see, but all the interdictions are prearranged. Like the one where Jared Kushner was going to have an RFID database for COVID. He was asked in a press conference, this man, what? Jared might be, oh yeah, okay, well, I don't know if it's Jared, well, maybe it is a good idea. We'll see. Boom. And it's in. And that's all he's got to do. So this guy, I mean, I'm distracted here a little bit now. I almost feel like watching this video, and I think I'm going to pause this. So I'm going to pick up on the 6th January theme and offer a couple of possibilities. So this was the gentleman that was found guilty for allegedly...
The January 6th rioter, whose lawyer said he was, quote, following presidential orders, was found guilty yesterday on all 6 charges he faced. Dustin Thompson was the first defendant who tried to convince jurors it was former President Donald Trump who was at fault for the Capitol insurrection. Thompson's attorney argued, quote, Donald Trump encouraged people like Thompson to storm the Capitol and took advantage of, quote, vulnerable people like his client. A Justice Department prosecutor told jurors in closing arguments Trump was not on trial. They should not consider Trump's actions, even if they think he is to blame for what happened on January 6th.
Like, Trump had was known to have encouraged a disturbance. I mean, that's apparently fact. That's what this guy was standing on. So let's go under the guise of Trump told me to do something, and that he would have been the commander-in-chief once upon a time. So, because Title 10 had been declared, it was National Guard mobilization to defend Washington, D.C. So, in other words, the 101st Airborne Division was not federalized to go perform that mission. It was National Guard units that were activated, because really there's a technicality there about the District of Columbia and the true kind of governorship, if you want to use that word. In this case, the big dome was over Trump's head, so he still had the ability to exercise authority, let's call it, within that domain. So having said that, I'm going to jump right. Well, this is a good point that I'll come back to. I'm going to jump here. This is Readiness Group Los Angeles. Bunch of good guys. I mean, you know, I met a couple of them long ago. And it's a normal military unit, but it's in Los Angeles, California. And so all I want you to do is see, you know, it's a bunch of characters that, hey, let's say you're in the unit, you're in LA, and, you know, maybe you've got some connections or whatever, but next thing you know, you get a chance, you're going to come down on orders because the president's got some stuff that he's going to do, and don't tell anybody about it, but here we go. And you get 10 guys and then go look at the cast that was in the Oval Office and say, what? I wonder if that guy was in the Guard. They sort of look similar. They start to blend together. This is Readiness Group Los Angeles. And they're subject to activation. You know, you want to come on orders? We got a window, here's your 2-week AT, let's rehearse it. I mean, it can go on, and I'm just throwing that out as a possibility, because Trump, as the senior executive, would be able to direct such action. So, let's continue on. Just, you know, this jumped me over to LA, and kind of what goes on there, and all of a sudden you've got this arresting people, and it's an Air Force organization. I can understand the need for security, but now you've got this as a tenet of how we do things. And there's a lot of great stuff regarding the military. I don't want it to be all about, you know, this level of readiness where, hey, look at these guys. These are domestic people now that are ready to get oriented to do what needs to be done. And it's a very, I mean, this is Space and Missile Systems Command, and yet these guys are, you know, it's like Planet of the Apes. What is going on here? So it's a little bit odd in terms of what they're doing. And of course we have a Space Command now. But in initiating all this, I just want to jump back here and talk about two things related to, well, both the dark side and the light side. This happens, when I started looking, this happens to have been a reaction to Oklahoma City, right when the federal building got bombed. And I just want to introduce the, okay, so there was a man that was in there, but what I want to just say right here, we know that Bush and Clinton did this, and that there was hypnosis involved, and the truck bomb, the rolling truck bomb has been a signature since Desert One. So in this case, I just want you to notice the similar structurally to the damage done between this and Khobar Towers, because they look very similar, and it's the same signature. One is in America, one is in Saudi Arabia, and John Brennan was the chief of station at the embassy, so he was the CIA liaison for Bill Clinton at the embassy in Saudi Arabia during Khobar Towers. So I had showed you these guys, but here's the last thing that I want to say about us as Americans. So this is the part where we're going to talk about a little bit of hope, of the unrecognized heroes of our history. Look at the handshake that's going on right here, and look who is being shaken. So it's a winning shake between Iowa Guards members and an ally from the Red Army during Victory in Europe Day. Celebrations 50 years ago. Well, this was when this was published, but it was 50 years ago, I guess. I think this was vicinity of the 9/11 thing. So along with that came this testimony of all these unit histories of what happened in World War II. I'm going to figure out how to attach this thing. It's not hard. It's a nationalguard.mil resource archive. And, you know, even if you're not a military historian, I think that it's worth reading some of the lineage of these outfits that we really don't hear about. The 44th and the 45th specifically, and those guys just rock'em sock'em roboted and were responsible for victory. So here's this, these are American candidates that met this guy and said, hey, we're teammates, we won. And I'm offering that as a very simple analogy for us going forward at the ground level. Like, the controllers at the top have one agenda, and we guys bottom up, hey man, we want to shake hands. And that's where the vibration needs to go with how we feel about Trump and where he's going. So I think I'll conclude it right here. I've said a lot of things about China that I want to make sure are considered from a human intelligence projection standpoint. Clearly they've got their way of coming into the media, trying their way. There are many indicators. If you have a social presence, these people that are jumping out of nowhere and introducing themselves to you are probably like from China, you know, trying to penetrate into the network and figure out what's going on. If you don't have anybody tapping you on your electronic shoulder, then you're not pushing any envelopes, and that's fine. I just want to let you know that it happens, because they control, the bad guys control WhatsApp. So when you're on WhatsApp, you're shared with everybody. They got it. The Moon's got it. Musk has it. Musk now has Twitter. Donald said he doesn't want to participate on Twitter because Donald Trump is ready to go. He's ready to cook it out. And that's the last that I'll waste any time speaking about this subject, other than to tell you I'll attach the right videos. This is still me. I think this is a total of 3 parts. You know, China's got proximity all over the globe. They could have had shipping containers deliver offensive capability through Ecuador, up through Mexico, And all this facade about the next dust bomb of refugees. Oh, here it comes. Could be them. And then there's an interstate system. And I've already talked about a takedown of the domestic U.S. using the interstate system by guys that know how to fight. Like they own the 5G. They could damn drive cars in there without drivers and not worry about any blasts going off unless the Taliban sneaks in there and does that piece. So you want to talk about vulnerabilities and dark guys at the top to scramble your eggs. You need to take up your God power and wish that a peace be held, because it will be then. It's very important. You know, the good thing about that we have going as Americans, and fucking Shoemaker said it, you know, we will fight. We will fight. He said it. I heard him say it. He put that flag on our shoulders and said, you want us to fight, we're going to fight. And we do. But we don't know how to fight. The government, that he doesn't know how to fight. Pete Shoemaker, what'd you do, man? You better testify up. Whatever planet you're hanging on now, South Pole, inner Mars, coming for the next ride. You're going to soul swap out. What are you going to do? You know, we know what Trump's going to do. He's going to burn out. He's just on his way already, and he's going to high soul swap out, and we're going to see something very observable on 18 through 29. Y'all better get it. I'm going to put it on now. 29, 18 to 29. Be ready. Aloha. Yeah. Aloha. Elohim. We're guarded. Be Christ. Peace.